There's a reason why for the last 13 years, startups overwhelmingly prefer to build on top of AWS. We have the largest number of services, making it easy for you to take on some of the biggest challenges with the smallest teams. We also have partnerships with the top VCs, accelerators, and incubators around the world, making it easier to secure your next round of funding.
I'm a solution architect with the AWS Head Start program. What we do is we work with startups in the education sector, and we help them build their services on AWS.
So We Power Tech is AWS's diversity and inclusion outreach program. The program is really twofold. One is to increase the number of underrepresented technologists within the industry, and the second is to provide a platform for them to be seen and heard.
If you're wondering how the AWS evangelism team might be able to help your startup, there are many ways. We're technically credible across our entire catalog of products, so we can help you figure out which services might be able to meaningfully impact your business. We also want to help tell your story. So if you're building something cool, we want to know about it and help spread that message to the world. So you might end up on stage at an event like AWS Summit. If you're a startup, you should also definitely check out the AWS Lofts. These are event spaces that are free to anyone with an AWS account, and you can treat them like co-working spaces, but the awesome thing about them is that we also have people like technical evangelists like myself, solutions architects that come and give hands-on technical workshops and sessions to help you learn how to more effectively utilize the AWS products and platforms that you're already building on top of.
We are a dedicated team of people that love startups, that we just want to come and help you with whatever we can, whether it be technical or business focused. We are here to help guide you and make sure that you do have a say in what's going on. We do get your feedback. We do bring that feedback to the service teams. That is what we're here for.
So hi everyone, welcome to Startup Brand Islamabad's second virtual ROI of UX session. Let me just start with a brief introduction of what Startup Brand is and what we do. So we're running this mentorship month with support from AWS and a bunch of other amazing partners from across Pakistan and also outside Pakistan. Startup Brand is the world's largest community of entrepreneurs, founders, innovators, actively connecting people in more than 600 cities in more than 125 countries around the globe. I personally started running the Islamabad chapter 3 years ago, and over the past 3 years, we've hosted some of the most amazing entrepreneurs, digital leaders, policy makers, and change makers who have influenced Pakistan's future as a digital nation from inside and outside Pakistan. One of the highlights of our previous Startup Brand activities in Pakistan include the Startup Brand Pakistan conference, which was Asia's first ever Startup Brand conference, which took place in Islamabad in last November. With this series, we have two amazing offers from our partners, AWS. Number one is that you can sign up for an AWS one-on-one mentorship session with experts from fundraising, product, marketing, sales, strategy, and operations. We'll send you the link after the event. The other one is that if you're a startup or starting up a startup, you can sign up for AWS Cloud credits. We'll also send you a link to apply for this after the call. You can sign up and get credits up to $100,000 in AWS Cloud. This brings me to today's amazing session, which is the second one in the row of 7 virtual events that we're doing with my dear friend and an amazing UX guru from all the way from San Francisco. So just to give you an introduction, Mudassir is the UX UI instructor at UC Berkeley and the lead interaction designer at Wells Fargo, which is one of the leading banks in the US. He's leading the interaction design effort for their commercial electronic office portal, which does $13 trillion of transactions every year. One of the amazing things about Mudassir and the things that he's done for Pakistan is that he was the evangelist who brought the Urdu language, the Nastaliq font, to Apple's 2 billion iOS devices. So with this, I'd like to welcome Mudassir for his second virtual event with us and hand it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Arzish. Let me share my screen. And starting, all right, okay. And you must be seeing the awesome desktop, right?
Yeah, it's absolutely, we can see the image.
Perfect. Cool, so you are seeing which screen? Okay, hold on.
Now we're not.
Sorry. Okay, hold on, sorry. when it goes live. Okay, this one and desktop too. Okay. Again, you're seeing the desktop, right? So let's see this. Let me share this. Okay, so you're seeing my slide.
Um, I'm only seeing the desktop. And now I'm seeing the slide. Yes. Otherwise,
All right.
not.
Okay.
Perfect.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you, Arzish. Okay. Hi there, guys. And Assalamu alaikum. So thank you for joining me again, and thank you and Arzish again. And I was very delighted last time to be in front of you, and I'm very much thankful that you stayed with me till the end. And your questions were very engaging, and I really appreciate it. And I do encourage that please, bring as many questions as you can. And we are recording this session, so hopefully we will have a transcript version as well at the end of the day or at the end of the series. So Arzish can distribute this among all the participating members and what have you. And please feel free to ask me questions. Make sure you can buzz me on LinkedIn too if you have any questions right after our talk. I'm always available on LinkedIn, as Arzish know, and also on Twitter. And once again, extending my thanks to Startup Grind and Arzish for arranging such an awesome series of webinar. Kudos to you, dude, and your team. So let's begin. So recap, right? Let's go back to our first episode and see what we learned. So what we learned, actually, we learned that how stories are important and memorable, right? Design, and we learned about the design thinking stages, and also stories related to each steps and how each step were tied into stories, right? So, and we saw the impact, the ROI of it. ROI doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that only the money you can get in return, right? But also how much time you're going to save by doing prototyping, by doing testing. So today I'll walk you through with the ROI framework. So what I want to do is before we start measuring our ROI and talking about it, like how to measure the revenue or customer retention, or how we can analyze that by applying UX on our team, basically, like how we can enhance the team productivity, because UX is for us as well, right? The people who are building the solution and services, or how we reduce the support costs and scale down the development costs, right? So, and obviously development time, like applying the right coding methodology without repeating ourselves, right? Reducing the redundancy. Let's talk about the framework. And I'm calling it ROI framework, and there's a reason for it, because this framework will set up the baseline of problem discovery. It will help us focus and zoom in and zoom out on a problem. And this framework will help us build a solid foundation. Also, it will guide us when we will face a challenge in the environment which is not design mature, because last time somebody asked the question, right? If the executives or head of your team or whatever, right? So they are not into the design methodology, design thinking, how we can tackle them, right? So this framework will help us to get there. Then we will be able to measure when we deploy our application, either as an MVP or just even in the earlier stages. So let's talk about the first thing, as I said earlier, right? Why? So first of all, you have to be cognizant about your product, be aware, perceive the product, service, or goal, right? So before you start designing your product or a component for a design system, or thinking about a service business, like for example, you're thinking like, hey, can I start like bike-like like service, or maybe more specific something, some other niche market, or Kareem like service, or Daraz like service, right? So product. Make sure you exhaust yourself and the stakeholder, right, with as many whys as you can. Do not jump on screen on computer, start coding, or do not turn on your Sketch or Figma to start prototyping. No, this is not how we start our work, right? So exhaust, and what did I say? exhaust yourself and the stakeholders with as many whys as you can. Why this product, feature, component, or service is important? Why this problem exists? What's the purpose? How does this problem solution going to benefit the customer, right? Do customer really facing this problem? What business opportunity does it create? Why it will help us to gain more revenue? What impact is going to have on a society? Yes, you have to think from this aspect as well. On a community, on a whole world, right? So you have to think from many aspects. So why? Always ask why. So what we know and where we have to be. This is ERIKA Hall, very amazing book she wrote, Just Enough Research. And I like her quote about design. And that quote is, it's the gap between what currently exists and what you are aiming for, right? So what exists and what we're aiming for. So there's a gap, right? So we have to find out that gap, how to identify the gap so we can design the delightful experience. I say this, that by asking the questions, by being curious. Remember, we learned about curiosity in our episode 1. So when asking whys, we are basically mining for gold. Words. So I was, doing some research, like, why it is important to ask too many whys, right? Why the question in the process of why. So I found a very interesting tidbit regarding the gold. So the world's 90% of gold has been produced following the rushes of mid to late 1800s. 90% of gold. But let me show you how the let me walk you through the process of gold mining based on 4 steps. And it's very interesting, and I would like you to pay attention to it, because this is exactly what you will be doing with your product and solution. So first step is prospecting. Second is mining. Third is extracting, and fourth is refining. So first they have to explore and search for the deposits. This is known as prospecting, because first you have to find out that what you are solving exactly, what are the problems that you are trying to solve, and who might get benefit from it, right? And then second is, once the deposit is discovered, mining process started. I won't go in the technical detail, because there are so many nuances around the gold deposits and what have you. Because finding the pure gold mine is tricky and tough. However, usually gold found out with silver in many different forms, solid or in different forms and shape. They start drilling in, right? Once they, the second step, what we say, mining, right? So this is where they start drilling in. Third is extraction. Extraction is getting out the gold from the mine. It is a setup once they drill down properly into the deposit. And the fourth one, the last one, once the gold is out, the refining process kicks in. Similar, right? Similarly, you have to focus on why. Replies from your prospective customer is like a gold, because when you start asking questions, right, from the true customers who are willing to pay you, it will help you unearth the real true problem. So that's fascinating, right? So the mining process is very much like, to our design process actually. So zooming into the description, so describing our problems, describing our goals. So purpose of the why is simple, very simple, right? We want an accurate description of the problem. For whom? For our team, the development team, the design team, the the product managers and what have you. So we can easily understand the target persona, like for whom we are solving the problem, right? So what we have to do? Describe the problem in depth. Remember the story I talked about, the wish pop, because I have to work with from our first episode, that I have to work with our client, right, to dig a little bit more deeper to understand what's their actual problem, what's the actual problem is, what he's trying to solve. So describe the problem in depth, at least for your team, and keep all the team members involved. Plus one more thing. Make sure you do share it with your stakeholder. I will tell you more in detail like how you can do it. Align with company's vision, because when you are, scribbling a note on a napkin, on the back of your napkin about the startup. So you must have a vision, right, at that time. So make sure you should be asking this question among your team members, that how solution X, Y, or Z will align with company's vision, or how this problem is hurting our company or our customer, right? There are so many nuances you can easily find out if you start asking questions from day one. If your boss tells you, oh, look, let's add this feature, it looks awesome and cool and dandy, don't try to build it. Ask your boss, ask your product manager that why we have to build it. What are the metrics? What he learned from, what did he learn from the customer? Or if you're just starting your business or your startup, so make sure don't fall in the hype, all right? Be very realistic about it. And I will tell you more about in a couple of few slides. So what are the why tools? There are so many tools where you can actually start understanding the context and what have you. So first one is a journey map, right? So this is how Nelson Norman Group defines journey map. A journey map is a visualization of the process that a person goes through in order to accomplish a goal. In its most basic form, journey mapping starts by compiling a series of user action into a timeline. So next time the timeline is fleshed out with user thoughts and emotions in order to create a narrative. So you have to first see what's going on right now. So journey map is a very super simple tool. You can just Google up, go to the Nielsen Norman Group website, and then find out the template, or you can create your own. Very simple. Put the timeline and then what they're doing. It's very simple tool actually. So it will help you for what? To get the context, right? Providing this context helps to highlight gaps and shortcomings. Remember, we have to identify the gap. So this is how the journey map gonna help you. So this is one of the tools which can help you to unearth or find the why actually. So basically what we are doing is trying to find customer pain points by adopting these tools in the field of user research. There are many tools out there. For example, A/B testing, affinity diagram, heuristic evaluation, concept mapping, etc. Use whatever tool you can according to the problem that you're solving, according to the stage of the problem where you are. So Jamie Levi, writes in her book, book name is UX Strategy. Very interesting book. Even if you are the product manager, I would say just go ahead and read that book. Or even if you're a startup, you just two people in the garage somewhere or in the apartment, churning out the idea, just read this book. So very interesting one. I like her quote. Like many product makers before them, they ask their team, like, hey, can you just redesign the look and feel of the site ASAP, right? After all, they needed to meet the growing concern of their business partners, and because they had a lot of entrenched functionality, they felt it would be easy for my team to just build off of it. That's how usually we start with our work. Very interesting, right? So what we have to do, we have to make sure we don't fall into that kind of trap. So that's what Jamie Lee then continue in her book, so do not fall for that kind of trap. Always, even for those, big strategists out there in the market, people do come to them and say, hey, I'm designing this application. Can you take a look and feel of it, make sure it's working? And I usually get that kind of request too. I say, yeah, I can take a look at your app, but I can't, just give you any review or try to help you unearth the real problem in 20 minutes. It's impossible, right? It's very impossible. So you have to spend some time with your team to dig more and do the stakeholders interview, comparative review, I believe these three tools like journey map, stakeholders interview, comparative review, they are the holy grail of user research, because it will give you the exact idea what's the problem, or what are the problems, right? What's going on around that problem. So I had a very interesting conversation during my UC Berkeley class recently. The question was posed to me: Apple Watch is for everyone. When we start, peeling the question one by one, with the layer, with logic and ideas and stories, we found out it's not meant for everyone. I will tell you why. The biggest reason, it's not so easy for non-English speaker, right, to set that properly. Simple, because this product is designed for those who speaks English, and they did add lots of different languages, but primarily it's for English speaker. Even if you speak English, right? Even if you speak, if you have challenges with your motor skill, right, and vision, guess what? This tiny device is not meant for you. Why? Too much tiny text. My mom she don't like iPhone. Can you imagine that? She love iPad, but she don't like iPhone because why? There's no customization on the for the home screen. For example, she wants to call her sister, right? And she just need one tap solution. Like she tap and it dials her sister's number. My khala, my aunt, right? There's no way she can do it on the iPhone. So what I did, I set it up the Android phone, right? Even it's okay. She's like, she can call and what have you, but sometimes she confuses how to disconnect, how to end the call. Do I need to swipe up or do I need to swipe right? So these are the tiny nuances, right? So all products are not designed for everyone. So before you ever think about what will be the return of my investment of all the UX thingy I am doing or I have done, you have to understand why I'm building the product and for whom, right? Remember, for whom, because another example, okay, let me give you another example. Kareem is meant for whom? Not for everyone. There's a reason, right? So there's a context around it. When they build the problem, when they build the solution, they knew who might gonna be using their services. So understand your whom. So defining your audience is very important from day one, or I would say day zero. So we cannot build the product for everyone, right? As we discussed, we have to find out to whom we are designing for. What are the categories of people who are more aligned with our products or services? So let me ask you a question again, right? So Kareem services, right? So we to whom they design for? They zoom in and they identify a couple of categories. The people who don't have a car, first of all. Second, the people who are in need for a ride for some reason, because their cars are a mechanic shop or what have you, or if like in Western societies, like don't drink and drive, right? These laws are very strict. So during those scenarios, when they have to get out from the bar, they use Uber or Lyft, right? So there's so many different categories of customer. This is exactly what you have to identify before actually jumping in to write a single line of code or designing a single screen. So let's zoom in. How to zoom into your target persona? Very interesting, right? So how should I do it? So never ignore the details. For example, identify the right people, and for that you have to understand the target persona. And what you have to do, you have to understand the age, their gender, right? And the context, obviously, location, where they are, right? The context. Remember the word Gimba that we talked in our series 1? Like, go to the actual place to see your customer to their actual place. And what's their profession? What they do? How they earn money, because this impact the usage of your service. Are they gonna able to pay X amount of money or not? So you have to understand whom you're targeting. For example, let's take another example of Apple and Android, right? So Apple is always with the high-end devices, $400 and plus. Android, if you can get Android for $50, and they're fine, their work's awesome. So, and you can start seeing who is using more Apple, and you can also start seeing who is using more Android. So from that you will get the idea that to whom these devices target for, right? So how mobile they are, another aspect, right? So are they mostly spending time in front of the computer? For example, if you are from the you're 60 years old or 70, they don't spend too much time on the phone. They have a very proper setup in their home related to computer. It's the biggest screen. They sit in front of it, they write email and what have you, because of the accessibility feature, more convenient for them to use the keyboard and mouse. But young people like us, we are always mobile. 80-90% we get our work done, right, on mobile, right? So and also like how much rely how they're using other devices. Are they doing with the smart tracker, right? So some people are not. Some people are very happy with the simple step counter. That's all they need. So you have to zoom in, and to zoom in again, you have to understand their age, their gender, location, context, right, and their profession. So never start with this. Okay, one more thing. Like when we come up with the idea, right, we go to our friend and say, hey, what's your say about this idea? Is it good, right? This is a misleading question. Or even if we try to ask from the target persona, like we think that, hey, this is maybe it's going to help them out. So this is how we start, like, oh, what about you? What do you think? Is this the right idea? See, I'm solving the problem for you. Don't start with this question. It's a misleading question. And obviously people are generally nice, right? So they will say, oh, sure, this is a super awesome idea. Again, never start with this question. So I like Sherlock Holmes, the British TV series, very interesting one, not the Robert Downey Jr.'s movie. I'm sorry if you are a fan of his Sherlock Holmes movie. So I usually say that think like a Sherlock Holmes. Why? Because then you need to see all the details, right? So instead, I would say poke into their mind by asking questions which revolves around their context, their problem, and about their lives in general. Start casual. Like try to understand, try to talk about their lives first, like about their past. Like as I usually say, be a Sherlock Holmes. That's exactly you have to do. Be a Sherlock Holmes. I like do not promote the new startup idea. Be authentic in your conversation. If you are improving your existing product, then have a weekly call with your customer, with your client. That's very important. Always talk to them, listen in, make sure that you build. And one more important thing, all right? So I know we are always excited as a startup, as a startup founders, that, oh my God, my product is awesome. But what you have to do is build the stamina of listening. I'm gonna underline this, stamina of listening, right? So we do talk a lot. We are always excited about our ideas. We want to tell the world how cool our product feature is, but don't tell the world. Just listen in, like gain more insight from your target persona. So I will give you 6 key lessons, all right, about how to ask questions, and also be mindful about few things here and there. So let's go to our lesson 1. So key lessons. To be a great designer, you need to look a little deeper in how people think and act. All right. So let's start with this. Lesson number 1. Lesson number 1 is never ask this, is my idea superb? People are polite. They will say, sure, super awesome, dude. This is where you start accumulating the false positive. Don't do that. It's a trap. Instead, try to get more into the useful conversation by asking about their current problem. Like, what's happening right now, which you envision to solve, right? So you may be trying to solve the problem related to, let's say, a to-do list, right? So see and get into their environment and ask their current problem, like what's going on with you, how you manage the to-do problem, how do you manage your tasks, and how you track them. Talk about their life, their current context. Be specific, especially the question related to past. Do not try to collect the opinions about future. Okay, don't ask the question, what if XYZ is available to you? And I would say, yeah, sure, but do I really need it as a customer? I don't know. So ask about the past or what's going on with their life right now. And see, again, be an acute observer. Listen more, talk less. Be like Sherlock Holmes. Lesson number 2. So there's a guy, he wrote an amazing book, Robert Fitzpatrick. His book name is The Mom Test, and I would say to every participant who is here right now or gonna listen later on YouTube, please buy his book, The Mom Test, right? So it will help you to get more, I would say, concrete in asking the right questions. So what did he say? The world's most dangerous, deadly fluff is, I would definitely buy that. Remember, this is what we heard. We usually hear, yeah, sure, I'm gonna buy it. So this is dangerous, deadly fluff. All right. So what does he mean by that? Is you are entering into a trap. Exactly. Right, which will lead to the false positive. People are complainers. They usually don't look for the solution until you show it to them, which exists already out there in the world. When you see that their problem can be solved with a simple solution, all right, then do not waste your time. Here are some pointers for you. Ask these questions instead. Would you please tell me more about your current problem? Or why you say X, Y, Z is awful? Specifically, be specific. When somebody says, "Oh, I hate cutting," okay, why you hate cutting? What's not working for you? Bike, yeah. Oh man, I don't like their service. It's too slow. Okay, what is too slow? What do you mean by that? Can you walk me through? Ask these kind of questions. Have you tried this ABC solution to overcome this awfulness? Right? You can say, "Hey, have you tried this solution?" And they were like, "I don't know about solution." Right? So you found out that there is a solution exists to remedy their awfulness. However, they never thought about it. So how much money you save? Maybe millions and trillions, right? So, and more importantly, this is where you must again, listen, ask them about their worst experiences. I will tell you the story. And the story is like, when I was building a small product here, and then I found out one thing. I quickly draw a prototype, and I live in Mountain House, which is like almost at the edge of Silicon Valley. Like we are a little bit like, so almost at the edge of Silicon Valley, but my target customers, they were in Bakersfield, which is a 3 hours drive near LA. So on the weekend, I drove by myself all the way to that, Bakersfield, like one way 4 hours drive. And actually I found out the target personas living there, and their stores are there, the car, the people who are dealing with cars and what have you. So I was building a car inventory management application. I just spent like 1 or 2 hours on the prototype using Protopie, and then guess what? After spending almost 10 hours in the field, understanding what's going on, how they're doing it, it didn't, like, my idea was like done on the same day. I did not spend I would say $50,000 or $20,000 to build the whole product and get the right, and get it into the hand of people, and then realizing, oh my God, I spent like 20K, 50K, and boom, like nobody's buying it. Because what I found out, they were not actually struggling with the inventory management application. They were struggling with something else, like sharing the data with their accountant. That was the biggest problem they were, trying to solve. And I was like, oh my God, this is an interesting thing, because you can pivot if you have time, right? So instead of like developing a inventory management software, you might build a bridge, some kind of service which can connect the car dealers with the accountant. Because at the end of the day, what they were doing, there's a dealer's jacket, a file, right? There's a file, dealer's jacket. They have to send it to their accountant. And guess what? If you have 100 car on your lot, so they have a 100 dealer jacket. At the end of the year, they have to send it, right? Some of the dealers, this is how they work. So instead of building their software to managing the dealers, car dealers, their car dealers inventory, build a super awesome bridge, kind of like a software as a services application that can connect the accountant and the car dealer. Interesting, right? So that was my very awesome learning. So let's talk about lesson 3. So it's very important for newbies, I would say, those who are just starting the field of startup, or you are learning about the product design. So you know how excited we get when we see that we maybe found out the problem that we need to solve. Awesome. Stop seeking for approval. All right. Don't seek for approval. It's a selfish narcissist trait. All right. Remember, what did I tell you in my first episode? Empathize. Do not boast about, oh, that how your product or feature going to solve XYZ, problem, and they should buy it and sign up. No, do not boast about it. Be empathetic, right? So show empathy. This is what happened with us in German. All right, dude, let's think about a scenario. Dude, I'm thinking of starting a business. It's the coolest idea ever. Next Facebook. So what do you think it will it work? What are you doing? You're seeking for approval. Guess what the reply will be? A simple yes. Yeah, sure, man. I will buy it. I will sign up. And you will go, this is not the right way to get the insight. Just listen, take notes, make sure you are asking the leading question instead of putting words in their mouth. Again, bring your Sherlock Holmes here. Lesson number 4, be mindful and be ready for a bad news. Let me tell you another story. I burned my 50K because I did not know how to properly model my business idea, right? So it was the money my wife saved for our first home buying adventure. The down payment we were saving back in 2012, right? So why? Because I did not realize, I did not validate my idea. I built a couple of Urdu apps, awesome. I built I burned $50,000 while doing it because I hired the team in Pakistan, spending money over here. But I had a super awesome idea, but I did not validate the market properly. I was like on the, again, false positive, right? I was, self-actualization. Oh, it's good. Everybody gonna love it. Everybody gonna accept this thing. It's so awesome. It's so new. It didn't work well. I burned it, and my wife was like, not so happy at that time. So it took me almost 5 to 7 years to bounce back and get some confidence, right? So it's very tolling thing, I would say. It's not easy when you burn your hard-earning money, right? So that's okay. Just how you learn, I would say. So be mindful. Learn how to take no. If somebody is, if once you start asking the right questions, you might able to get some real hard fact, right? Basically, you are out there to seek the truth, for example, right? So you are actually seeking, so sometimes truth is better. So if you want to see the truth, then ask the hard question. Make sure you are unbiased and neutral. Very hard thing, very, very challenging piece to be unbiased and to be neutral, right? It's very difficult. It's not easy, but you have to make sure you build that mental muscle for it. It's very important. This will make you a great leader, even if you are failed, but you have an amazing stories to share and teach, right? So lesson number 6, I'm the biggest fan of Harry Potter, all right? And I remember I was actually standing up in the line at Borders bookstore when it exists back in 2008, 2007. They are not anymore. So standing up in the line at 12 midnight to get the new book, that was the coolest thing you can do beside, standing in line for iPad. So I remember a very amazing quote from Deathly Hallows, Harry Potter and Deathly Hallows. I will talk about it, I will tell you, read the quote, not whole of it, just a bit where I want you to underline that idea. So Albus Dumbledore, right, at the end, he was talking to Harry when they were at the, I would say, Alme Araf, somewhere in between the life and death. So this is what he was saying. Help will always be given at Hogwarts, Harry, to those who ask for it. I have always prized myself on my ability to turn a phrase. Words are, in my not so humble opinion, our most exhaustible source of magic, capable of both inflicting injury and remedying it. But I would in this case, amend my original statement to this. Help would always be given at Hogwarts to those who deserve it. Right? So, fascinating comment. Very interesting, right? Help will always be given at Hogwarts to those who ask for it. Ask your potential clients, your customer for help. Do not start with, hey, can I set up a meeting with you? I have a few questions to ask. Instead, be informal. Take them, for lunch. Listen in what they are doing, but keep few things in mind. Structure a conversation, right? So it's kind of like you are strategizing, right? You are planning. You try to dig in. Mining is a very again, bring the mining metaphor in your mind. So when you have to mine, you have to do the prospect, right? So you have to understand where you can find a deposit. So bring that kind of structure in your conversation. Explain your vision, strategy. Tell them you are looking some ways to solve the X, Y, or Z problem. Frame it. Remember that definition, right? Phase in design thinking. Bring it into an action. Tell them exactly where you are in solving the problem. Show them a progress. Even the prototype. This is what I did when I went to Bakersfield, right? So I show them a prototype. I say, hey, this is what I'm solving. What do you think of that? Can you walk me through how do you, manage your inventory? What if somebody, let's say if I buy something from you right now, how are you going to take it off from inventory? So show them even the prototype. Don't worry, nobody's going to steal your idea, right? Nobody has time. Sometimes we're afraid, like, oh my God, this guy going to steal, or this potential customer might going to steal my idea. Don't worry about it. Nobody has time. If it's yours, it's yours. Karma is work just like that. Get weakness insight. This is what I call it, the weakness insight. So when you show your idea at the very early stage, this will give you a chance to hear about the weaknesses too, right? It's super cool. You are actually uncovering the problems before the product ever get built. Or maybe you are getting more insight and might be you're going to turn it into another product. Remember the Flickr story. They were the gaming platform, but what they noticed, people were actually sharing photos. What they did, switch from the game, and now it become at that time the biggest photo sharing platform before Instagram. Give them a compliment. You do appreciate that how their honest feedback is actually helping it. Ask for help. Do mention that their insight is helpful. Again, and this will help them feel that they are basically helping you getting the right product. They will feel that they are part of your product. So that's why small companies, when they take care of it, their own customers and listen to them, asking for their help, they do, get the loyal customer. Remember the Basecamp, still they are going strong. So that was the lesson number 6, right? Hold on. That was lesson number 5. Sorry, slide says 6. Anyways, I will fix it. So lesson number 6, the last one. Last but not, find the right set, right category of your customer. Zooming into the right persona will help you in long runs. Remember, zoom in to get the right persona, right problem that you have to solve. Because, and how you have to do it, if you follow through those 6 lessons, and if you ask the right question, I'm dead sure you will be getting tons of gold actually. Like, do we need to build a product, or we need to pivot it, or this is not the right problem we are solving. We have to solve that problem instead of this problem, because this is not the problem, right? The problem is something else. Because when you start discussing with your team, with your target persona, you will get a very good insight. So make sure, zoom into the right persona and follow these 6 lessons and learn how to ask the whys and also explore who. So, all right, friends, thank you so much. So next episode will equip you with when, where, and what of our ROI framework. And we will dig deeper into our framework, because to get a good chunk of revenue from your investment, you have to make sure you set up a solid framework. Once that framework is set up properly, guess what? Two outcomes you will see: a delightful customer, and in return, more money. Because happy customer means more money, right? So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. If you have any questions, please, fire away.
I think Scott has asked name of the book again.
Oh, the mom test.
The?
So it's the book, the mom test. The last, the Robert Fitz.
Mom test. Yes, if anyone has a question, they can just unmute themselves and ask, or they can type as well in the chat box. I think Aisha has a question.
Okay. Please go ahead. Oh,
okay. Aisha, now you're now your mic is on.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa Islam.
I want to ask a question. I'm a university student और मेरा भी एक आइडिया है वो मैंने लास्ट ईयर अप्लाई किया था क्लाइमेट लॉन्च पैड ऑर्गेनाइजेशन पे तो मेरा स्टार्टअप आइडिया था तो मैं फाइनेंस तक गई थी लेकिन उसमें इशू ये था कि मेरा जो प्रोटोटाइप नहीं बना हुआ था मेरा जस्ट एक आइडिया था तो उसकी वजह ये थी कि मेरा जो आइडिया उसकी टेक्नोलॉजी बहुत हाई है उसकी वजह से मेरी टीम नहीं बन सकी तो मुझे ये पूछना था कि मैं टीम कैसे बनाऊं मेरा आइडिया ये है कि मैंने एक एग्रीकल्चर डिवाइस बनानी है क्योंकि हमारे पाकिस्तान में एग्रीकल्चर के लिहाज से बहुत प्रॉब्लम्स आते हैं ऐसे हम जब इंसेक्ट्स का अटैक होता है तो हमें पता नहीं होता हमारे फार्मर्स को कि किस वक्त अटैक होगा किस तरह बचाना है फसल को और हम पानी का वेस्ट बहुत करते हैं हम फर्टिलाइजर को यूज करते हैं जिसकी वजह से हार्मफुल इफेक्ट्स होते हैं और हमारी सेहत खराब होती है तो जो मेरी डिवाइस जो मेरे आइडिया है डिवाइस का वो ये होगा कि वो इंसेक्ट्स को डिटेक्ट करेगी कि इंसेक्ट्स आने वाले हैं उनका हमला होगा तो वो डिटेक्ट करेंगे फिर फार्मर्स को एक अलार्म के तौर पर एक साइन मिलेगा कि अटैक होने वाला है तो उसको पहले प्रिपेयर कर लेगा फसल को कि ना उनको के किसी भी तरीके से वो कोई तरीका होगा जिसकी वजह से वो अपनी फसल को ना बचा लेगा और ये भी वो बताएगा कि किस तरह पे फर्टिलाइजर डालने की जरूरत है और कितनी मिकदार में डालना है और ये भी साथ बताएगा कि पानी को हमने किस तरह यूज करना है क्योंकि हम हमने फील्ड्स में जब पानी लगाते हैं फार्मर्स तो बहुत ज्यादा पानी का वेस्ट कर देते हैं तो वो उसको एक क्वांटिटी बताएगी कि आपने इस टाइम इतना पानी डालना है और इतनी फर्टिलाइजर यूज करनी है तो ये मेरा आइडिया इसके बाद से मुझे थोड़ी सी हेल्प चाहिए कि मैं इस तरह इसको इनिशियल स्टेज पे लेकर आऊँ इस पे काम करूँ तो मुझे आइडिया नहीं है बस मैं आइडिया है जिसके बाद से मैं उस गई थी स्टेज पे लेकिन मुझे इसके बारे में कुछ पता नहीं है तो काइंडली आप हेल्प कर दें
ओके आयशा ये बताओ कि सवाल ये है दिस इज व्हाट यू आर एक्चुअली आस्किंग कि हाउ डू आई मेक अ टीम इवन बिफोर द आइडिया
yes
okay so Aisha's question is very interesting right so she has an idea but how do I assemble the team right very interesting question Aisha thank you so let me go back again before assembling the team do you know how many type of solution like this exists in the world do you have that data first find out that data start doing the comparative study right so kiske paas ye idea already exists there are other countries who are actually been through that they're farmers they are more little bit more advanced in their technology and what have you right so they are using drones and what have you so have you read about that so first before building the team don't worry about the team will come I know it's a very challenging to get the team assembled right even the Marvel's Avengers they do not go well together right so Iron Man and Captain America they always fight and what have you however I would say have you done your comparative study Do you have a solid plan? Did you talk to the right customer? Did you talk to the right people, right? Do you know how they are solving this problem right now? Or like 5 days ago, or like in the last year, how did they solve this problem before you give them a solution? And then plus and add and combine the comparative study, like what other people, other farmers around the world are doing about it, and how they are tackling this problem. Once you know these details and you assemble a awesome documentation, or somewhere, or an idea, you have a strategy how you're going to tackle it. And if you go to the right people in your university, or in the startup grind community, you will start attracting people more, actually. Then you don't need to run after them, they will come to you, because you have a solid idea, you have a solid baseline you already defined. That's how I say, first go and do the comparative study. Like, yes, you want to build the idea, but what other solution exists, how other people are doing it.
So I think Naveed wants to ask something. Naveed.
Hello. I just want to know that I've really heard good things about the UX and everything. I just wanted to know that will we be knowing about user interface from you in this session?
To be honest, no. Because UI is part of the UX. Yes, I understand. When we see the pretty photos and pretty stuff, pretty interface, we think it's a UX. UX is not UI. UI is part of the UX, right? So no, because I'm talking about the ROI. So how you craft your who, why, whom, when, where, and what, and then how you have to measure the return, and what you have to measure, instead of do not measure this, or what you have to measure. So this is a measuring framework as well, to understand the proper the return on investment.
Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, so if anyone else has a question. Okay, question.
Okay, Vasil says, can I read Vasil's question? Okay. In your opinion, how does the user in a developed country such as US differ from a user in a developing country such as Pakistan? Oh, good question, Vasil. Thank you. Okay, I came to America in 2002. All right. I saw the big difference. And I spent, like, when I was 20, I made, I celebrated my 24th birthday. So I spent in America. So so you can say I spent almost 23 years in Pakistan, in Karachi especially. And I'm from the Generation X, right? So we saw the world with and without internet in our lifespan. So, and then when I came to America, things were totally different. People here know the process. They know if they have trouble, what they have to do. They understand the idea of, like, getting online and asking for help. Also, they can talk in detail online about their services and what have you. They are already mature from so many aspects. So if you introduce them about something, new technology, it's not alien. It will be taken as from the delightful experiences perspective. Like, oh, it's awesome. Imagine, I don't know if you guys have used Nokia Touch, Nokia, I think E65 phones before 2007, somewhere in 2003. 2004, Nokia E65. All right. So that phone has an email setup. Okay. And I will talk specifically about America. I'm not going to talk about Europe because I've never been to Europe, never spent that amount of that much year with the European, and the culture. So in America, there were a couple of things that were very popular. They were using Pocket PC in the corporate world, Palm. Not the Palm Pre, the Palm, the old Palm, and some digital diaries, I would say. but they were mostly okay with their Motorola Razr phone at that time because it was sleek. It was just, flip-flop phone. They were okay with that. T-Mobile Dash, T-Mobile, the mobile, telephone, mobile phone operator, they came up with the device known as T-Mobile Dash. It was a sidekick, flip-flop, but it's kind of like a soap. It looks like a soap, like you're holding a soap actually. So they came up with this idea of a full-on keyboard and a browser, a monochrome browser, all right? Their screen was not colorful. It was a brand new thing in 2002. At the same level, in the same time, Japan and Europe was way ahead, right? In the mobile technology. They were already, offering lots of services. And in fact, if I take you back in 2000, right? So what you're gonna notice, at that time, Japan, NTT Docomo, they were offering the videos on their phone, on the mobile phone. The biggest difference, with the American market now, after 2007, and with just developing, with Pakistan, and I would say compare Pakistan and actually let's compare America from the technology perspective, because people here are very much mature and they know for 100% with 100% surety they will have electricity, they will have roads, there will be no the roads are constructed properly, they're all connected, infrastructure is in place. Whereas if you go to Pakistan, things are always with the question mark. I don't know my internet going to work. I don't know if I'm going to get disruption in my public service, which is actually my utility bills and what have you, the gas and what have you, right? So that kind of the satisfaction of mindset in developed country like America, and that uncertainty in a developing country is a big difference. And this actually impact users' behavior. So when you are developing a software or a public service or whatever service for the developed country, so you have to think from another perspective, which is like, their mental model right now, how they're expecting it. So read about the word mental model and explore a little bit more how we have to tap into it. And also make sure you have to bring the culture into your app. So I wrote an wrote an article, cultural UX, right? So if you, for example, we use like typically Uber and Careem, when they were launched in Pakistan, they were using 5-star rating. This rating is very much ingrained into developed country. Over there, people don't know what a star means. So you have to think from that angle. So bring all those aspects into your product. So there's a big difference. You have to read, from the cultural aspect, make some good friend from America, from Europe, from other part of the world to understand the culture and design the product accordingly. I hope, Vasil, I gave you the answer.
Yeah, he's saying thank you.
So Amara Jawad says, I feel like design for uncertainty could be a whole new domain, but I wonder how to go about ideating solution for such. Okay, Amara, you have to explain it to me. What do you mean by uncertainty? Can we get more clarification about the word uncertainty, like design for uncertainty, like edge cases? Are you talking about edge cases, Amara? I'm not hearing anything.
I think we can wait for her. Meanwhile, Avais has a question.
Yeah.
Avais?
Yeah. Assalamu alaikum. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, Avais, I can hear you.
Hi, this is Avais from Munich. Mudassir, I think we're connected on LinkedIn.
Nice.
I'm actually a founder and CPO for a startup here in Munich. It's an AI-based startup for the fashion tech industry. Or your founders background that's very product focused and user centric. So from day one, we've actually focused a lot on doing UX research and having the whole design thinking process in place. But sadly, due to coronavirus, this was now shifted to more like remote working. So मेरा question ये था कि we have to now put a lot of our UX research or like just user testing on online or remote. And I actually wanted to maybe get some insights from you if you have any experience on remote user testing, or if there's any good practices out there that we could actually follow, and maybe just some insights about what can't you actually test online. Yeah.
So you are asking how to perform the remote user testing and user, or in nutshell, remote user research?
Yeah. I mean, if you have any good practices for that, any good resources.
Oh yeah,
that,
okay.
Your experience.
So yeah, sure. On my LinkedIn feed, I am seeing lots of people are using Mural, right, to do affinity diagram workshop and other 10 by 10 workshop from AJ Smart, which is design thinking sprint. So it's depend on the nature, right? Nature of your research. So if you want to do the usability study, so Niels and Norman wrote an amazing article, and actually I participated a couple of times, when I was in their conferences. So I saw lots of ideas and examples how you can perform the remote usability study. But there are a few things which you can do remote easily well, right? So there are lots of websites, usertesting.com and things and what have you. However, there are a few things which you cannot do. And that thing is actually diary study. How are you going to shadow them day to day to understand, right? This is where you need to understand that because of the virus, you're not going to be able to do that. You cannot go to their actual environment to understand the problem. For example, I don't think so. Amazon will let you, or any factory will let you in right now on their premises, right, to study how their workers are working and things like that. So there are challenges, yes, but there are few things you can do online. And I think there's a guy named Jason Fried. I can write down his name, Jason Fried. He is actually a big, proponent of remote work. So you should read his, work actually. So it will give you more ideas.
All right, Jason Fried. I have another question, if that's all right.
Yes, please.
Okay, perfect. This is something that we also ask in our interviews, but it's a very abstract question. We just wanted to get your thoughts on it. There's different concepts about how many times or how many iterations you have to actually do for a certain feature before you actually launch, right? So what is like the right balance for you? Okay, for example, how many users, how do you identify this is the amount of users that I want to test with before I know for certain that this feature is good enough to be launched, right? Yeah, and sometimes I've also heard that just testing, there's also theory, I can't really recall the name for that. Okay, if you test with just one user, you're good enough to actually iterate on it and then launch and learn with real users, right? So the question to kind of reformulate is, what is the right balance between testing, like with your test users, as compared to when you know this is the right time to actually launch and learn with real users, right?
All right. So it depends on the vision, right? First of all, your strategy, how you're defining it. And now this question is an interesting question, I would say, because you have to test, as I said earlier, right, in this presentation. Even if you are building, if your application is already working fine, you are doing cool, everybody is happy chappy, but you have to keep in contact with your current client. You ask them every week or every other week, find out what's working, what's not working, how they are doing it. So sometime, I would say like how many times. So you have to an insight minimum from your minimum five users, because this is, else if you start going above 5 users, what's going to happen? You will start getting the similar, you start hearing similar stories. So this will be like a little daunting for you. So minimum 5 users. How often? I would say every other week. Even if you launch the product, everything is fine. If you solve 80% of your users, 80% of your users are happy, launch your product, and then you see why the 20% is not working. And this is where I'm gonna, dovetail with Amara's question, because she said that by uncertainty, she means like, situation like COVID, right? So she's saying, I'm sure a lot of products have potential to cater to such situations, but that potential was not considered before this. Exactly. So edge cases, right? We don't, okay, when you are driving, right? And for some reason, when you reach to your destination, and for some reason, it's like the grocery store is closed. Some unfortunate event happened with the grocery store's owner. So what you're gonna, nobody knew about that. So your tactics should be, I would say, flexible. Be firm with your strategy. You were talking with your wife in the morning that you will go and get the grocery done, right? So your tactic was what? You drive through all the way to the, let's say, San Francisco from San Jose, got the stuff, but you found out the grocery store is gone. What happened? ये क्या हुआ? Oh, it's gone?
मैंने दूसरा का बैनर लगाया.
Oh, अच्छा. All right, suddenly it's gone. So guess what? But are you gonna abandon the idea of buying the grocery, or what you gonna do? You will find the alternate, right? So you will just try to understand. So this is what you have to do, right? You have to pivot. This is the most artistic and creative thing in the startup world.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much. I think this was very informative. And hopefully we can stay in touch on LinkedIn.
Sure.
Yeah, thanks.
Perfect. Let's take maybe one more question if anyone has a question.
Okay, Amara again. All right. A lot of people in IT say that they often do not have time to question the whys as they're given tasks once development started. That's a typical one. What do you suggest for them to handle such situations and still be inquisitive? All right. So you have to, I would say, I know it's very typical, right? Very much like, so people are actually sometimes don't get a chance to ask whys from the right personas, right target customer. I say, do this. Become a friend of a salesperson and customer support department. They are the closest people to your user, right? Or, get in touch with the marketing person. Sometimes we have to improvise and get some data. I know this data is not going to be 100% pure gold, right? Mixed with silver, which is fine. It's okay. Grab as much as you can. Start writing your hypothesis, your assumptions, like, maybe this is what's happening, this is what's not happening. And again, try to convince your stakeholder or, product manager or somebody. Like, give you just one day to go and get more insight. Just one day. And if you are good in negotiation, then I would say, like, have a one-day conversation every other week with your customer. To start being, I would say, like, introduce these kind of concepts by saying that, hey, we will have a sales call, but, try to hide this idea. And, at the end of the sales call, try to ask these questions, be a little bit inquisitive. What's going to happen? You are creating a Trojan horse for user research, actually, in your team. Interesting, but it's an uphill battle. Again, as I said earlier in my conversation, it's not easy. Even in the big corporation, it's sometimes tough. to gain insight or gain buy-in.
Perfect. So Amare, thanks. And I think
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
We're slightly over time, but thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And Aisha is asking something. A startup grind. If the question is that do we do competitions in Pakistan, so the answer is we don't. But there is Startup Cup which happens in Pakistan. We are a partner and have been a supporter for this for the past couple of years. So thank you so much, Mudassir, for joining, and see you next week.
Yeah, sure thing.
Stay safe, and thank you everyone for joining on the call.
Thank you.
Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.